Cheers to 2022 and resolutions you can actually keep. How about having clean balls? Clean and shiny balls? Okay, I'll try it again. Oh, man. Okay. We good?
We're good. Everything's fine.
We're good. Cheers to 2022 and resolutions you can actually keep. How about having clean and shiny balls all year round? Our sponsors at Manscaped are here to save your balls this year and make the ball drop into 2022 with the cleanest and sexiest ever. Oh, yes, they are. Set your first New Year's resolution with good intentions and join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code Tougie for 20% off and free shipping. It's new year, new me. God, have I said that before. With the global leaders in below waist grooming. Let me try that part over again. It's new year, new me with the global leaders. It's new year, new me with the global leaders in below the waist grooming.
Whoa.
Bucket big bookies. It's gonna be fucking forever.
This is what happened once the adult leaves the room. Sin, come back.
Yep. Sin, come back. It's new year, new me with the global leaders in below the waist grooming. This year, take your package to the next level with their Performance Package 4.0 and brand new ultra premium body wash. Mwah. Smells great, feels great. Girlfriend approved? I approve as well. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find a signature Lawnmower 4.0 we all know and love. This electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on loose skin. The advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks to your delicate nuts. It also comes equipped with 400K LED spotlight that will shine a light to the promised land 2022 looks to be. A grooming routine isn't complete without applying Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver before showing off your 2022 self. These unique formulations.
Just make sure it's to a consenting party, of course.
Of course. These unique formulations take care of the smelliest part of your body and are a big boost to your confidence into the new year. To complete the set, Manscaped threw in their Shed travel bag and anti-chafing boxer brief as free gifts to keep all your goodies stored comfortably. And a new product that needs no introduction, the Ultra Premium Body Wash from Manscaped solves all three for the perfect addition to your daily grooming routine. But in the shower. It's great. I shower every day, and I really hope you do too. The body wash smells great too. It's cologne infused with aloe vera and sea salt to keep your skin feeling clean, nice, and moisturized. Kick discomfort and poor hygiene to the curb this year and use the best tools for the job. Whatever resolution is to work out more, travel new places, be sure to travel to manscaped.com for our exclusive offer at 20% off and free shipping with the code Tougie. Tougie at manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping. Cheers to new balls for 2022. Let's get on to the podcast.
What a guy.
I tried so hard.
He made it.
You have no idea.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Tougies Take Podcast. It is January the 11th. It's the middle of January, almost already. What the hell is even happening? It's going to be August before you know it, and then we're going to say what happened in March, and then it's going to be December, and so on and so forth. I am here with Mr. Endo Mills. It is us. Two of the guys, most of the fellas. No Sin here, of course, as we mentioned previously. Alternate Tuesdays, Sin, unfortunately, will have to be off while we have moved into our NHL gamer coverage-related schedule. But, hey, at the very least, Endo's here. It's not an only Toog. It's not an only Toog, and I'm happy about that because Endo... Woo, we have some stuff to talk about today. It's a bit of a shame that Sin had to miss this particular show, but that's honestly happened a couple of times. If Sin has to miss a show... a lot of things happen. You remember when Mark Bergevin was fired, and somebody else was fired, and Sin missed that show, and then Mark Bergevin got hired again, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and he misses this show again. Man, we should just permanently kick Sin off the show. We'd never have a shortage of things to talk about.
We had like one episode where, when it was just us, and then when Sin was like, "Oh, this is good chemistry. Let's bring him on," and now it's like. Okay, whenever he's here, nothing big happens. Every time he has to go away, nothing big happens. Sin, miss you, buddy. Can't wait to see you on I believe it's Friday.
Yes, every Tuesday and Friday for the next couple of months at the very least with this particular podcast. Again, Walston and I are doing our commentary duties every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, twitch.tv/NHL Gamer at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to check us out. It's a fun time. Of course, covering competitive sixes at the highest level. NHLGamer.com, the premier place for NHL-related esports. That's right. I said it. Humble brag. Flexing in the new year. I don't know where I'm going with this. And no, as mentioned, we have a butt ton of stuff to talk about today, and there were a couple of topics that I have bracketed into stories I want to acknowledge to make sure people know that they're important and that we're not ignoring the issue. Stories.
That is the greatest segue name or of a segment.
God.
Usually it's something kind of a cheesy thing. It's what do you want to call it? Stories I wanted to acknowledge to make sure people know that they're important and we're not willing to ignore the issue. SIWTATMSPKTIATWNITI. Stwagnai.
Yeah? You brought it together well. Oh, it's our new favorite segment. It's not, actually. This segment sucks. That these are particular topics that we actually, again, have to at the very least acknowledge. And like I said, there's been that kind of debate in the past with this podcast of okay, obviously, we want to try to keep things in a more positive mood. That's why we have Endo read off the ad reads, because it's hilarious every single time. But obviously, in the world of hockey right now, in the world of sports in general, the world in general, sometimes shit sucks. And you gotta face that head on. I have been in a bad mood for 2 days because Bob Saget passed away, and that fucking sucks. I'm on a horrible way to start this year. It sucks. It's awful. Yeah. I hate it. Every time I hear the girlfriend scrolling through TikTok and someone will play the Full House theme song, I almost start crying. It's terrible. Oh, but you didn't know him. He was like a father, damn it. Danny Tanner. Anyway, hockey stories. There are 3 stories pretty much, again, in that bracket of, again, we could ignore these, but at the same time, I don't think they're worth ignoring, but we don't want to bring down the mood of the show. The first is, and this broke after we had recorded the podcast, or right at the end. It was the story out of PEI in relation to that governing body out there being an absolute shit show. Endo, I'll read off a summary of this. Feel free to give your thoughts or add anything if I missed it. But essentially, 20-year-old player Keegan Mitchell has stood up for a teammate of his who is of Asian descent. An opponent used a slur in his direction. Keegan then slashed that douchebag's leg, and both he and the douche were suspended for 2 games. Keegan then called out Hockey PEI and was suspended indefinitely for calling out how ridiculous that was. And, of course, a lot of backtracking from Hockey PEI. Now, I am sure this particular story, I know you've seen more coverage of it, given that it's a Canadian-centered story. Obviously, it speaks for itself. This is absolutely ridiculous, and nobody's surprised, because, of course, this was handled this way. The worst possible way it could be handled, and, of course, that's the way it was handled.
Yeah, I want to say I'm not surprised. There's been an issue with maritime areas having certain ways of thinking, and it's unfortunate that this is happening in this day and age. It's ridiculous that Keegan was also suspended indefinitely for this, even calling them out completely. I don't care if it's against your bylaws for people to speak out with stuff like this. When something like this situation happens, then maybe there needs to be something taken into account too, or something changed within the rules in that organization and their governing rules and bodies. I suspect that their social media policy is mostly to protect officials and stuff for slander. But when your official is basically not backing up against racism and stuff like this happening in the sport, what is the credibility of official and what's the credibility of your league going to be? We'll get to that later after everything that's going on in the next 3 points. But it's not great.
Shine a spotlight on it. That's what we're doing. I mean, even for as little of a spotlight as we might provide here on this show, it's everybody who talks about this story. Even if you just talk about it to family members or friends, you are shining a spotlight on a certain aspect of a game that doesn't just need the change within the PEI region of things. Let's be honest, this happens practically everywhere. Growth is still needed. Improvement is still needed. As is showcased by the second story, which was the video that was put out by the Hockey Diversity Alliance with players detailing abuse that they've been on the receiving end of, as well as them launching their Tape Out Hate initiative. And of course, the aftermath of this is hearing that the NHL still hasn't really taken an active role in working with the HDA. It was a great video, obviously. Again, it's one of those things, right, where it's like, okay, these players could just not say anything. But not only for them to speak up, but to mention the importance of everybody speaking up and to be like a Keegan Mitchell, to be an ally, to not just be like, well, shit, that sucks. My teammate just got racially abused, but, and to not shrug it off. Again, obviously the video itself was fantastic, and then, you still kind of hear about the HDA and the NHL's lack of a relationship, and it doesn't leave a very good taste in your mouth.
Not at all. One of the things that I really wanted to highlight about this is that there were 2 cuts of the commercial. Not a lot of people know this. There is one cut, I talked about this on Twitter, where there's one cut where they have a statement. The HDA, like basically, I think it's Matt Dumba says in the video, that they reached out to the NHL multiple times, and they said that for anything that they wanted to do and have these players in, they can't use any imagery or likeness of any NHL team or NHL branding whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I think the really funny thing about this, too, is that in one version, they have that clip in there, and in one version, they don't. The NHL retweeted the one by Budweiser Canada, which does not have that statement. Mm. But the one that has the statement is the one that's shared by every single other player and the HDA themselves, and it's available on their website. So everyone knew what their statement was and how they're not associated together. So basically, by them retweeting the one that didn't have the cut in there, it basically cemented like another like foot in the grave, basically saying that we don't care because there's 2 cuts, and everyone knows that there's 2 cuts, and no one's letting them take this down. Now I'm not going to say bad on the social media manager because they're probably just telling people what to do, and they see this thing out there. Oh, our partner's posting it out. We have to put something out there as well. I'm pretty sure they would put HDA as well because they're in the branding with that thing as well. But the NHL themselves don't want to partner with them and acknowledge them. That's on them. I think it's disgraceful. I think it's showing that they don't really want to start a conversation or initiative.
It's them, and sorry to cut you off, but it's them not wanting to take any sort of stance that could be deemed as controversial as it is to side with the HDA. Like, it's such a money first, overly political move where you look worse and take more heat by essentially ignoring the issue than you do by actually addressing it, which coincidentally, that's again why we talk about these subjects on this show.
Exactly. This is a big slap in the face to everyone that's working hard there to be disrespected. And basically, I think Akim Alio said in one of the statements that there are active guys in the NHL who are a part of this organization and basically being told that your technical, like the company that you technically are contracted to work for is basically saying that your voice doesn't matter and your voice doesn't really have any merit in a way. Like, we won't support you, but you can still work for us and, just dance and make us money.
Yeah, honestly, it's shocking the way the NHL handled this when they were first in the bubble situation, and Matt Dumba became the first player to take a knee during the anthem. In terms of the NHL, you know that they care so much to be treated like a big sports league, like the NFL, like the NBA. I can't really say baseball at this point because Lord knows they have their own issues. And it was such a slam dunk to handle this entire emergence of the HDA and their relationship with them. It was a slam dunk and a half to win over good press, and they blew it. And unless you have anything else to add, we can talk about again how the NHL has this tendency to blow it. As Rick Westhead is at it again. This man will not stop until the NHL either fixes their shit or disbands at this point. The headline today on a TSN article, and of course this is led by Rick Westhead, Katie Strang is also involved from The Athletic. The headline, of course, former NHL off-ice officials allege they were fired for being whistleblowers on racism. Now, again, you can read the full story there. We won't totally get into it. I will mention that the article by Rick Westhead has this quote. The legal complaint is similar to another lawsuit that was filed against the NHL in November of 2020 by a former NHL official in Tampa who settled his wrongful dismissal case with the league last year. So there is precedent for a potential case like this. And here's the thing, right? It's believable that this happened. And that is the problem. I am not going to sit here on this show and say, okay, burn down the Lightning, because the Lightning are involved in this. Burn them down. I'm not going to say that. And again, at times, sure, we can be a bit reactionary. Previously on this show, when the Evander Kane stuff came out about his wife, when we first learned about it, and yeah, it painted Evander Kane into a very bad light, and obviously there have been continued developments with that for better or worse, but the end result was, and what I had said then with Evander Kane was, it's believable, and that's the problem. It doesn't seem out of your character for some of the things you're being accused of to have potentially happened, and similar to that, the NHL right here, right now, we're going to see how it plays out, but you don't really get the benefit of the doubts. The Tampa Bay Lightning don't really get the benefit of the doubt. At this point, it's so believable that this could have happened. It's on you to kind of prove your innocence and prove that there was no wrongdoing here. So, again, we're still in the very early stages of this. But at the same time, what's a recent story that Rick Westhead has kind of latched onto that hasn't had some merit behind it?
Yep. Absolutely. I got nothing else to say. It's just he's on a roll. I hate to say that something like this is like being on a roll, but this is proof that journalism is still like alive and well, and that people are still out here trying to fight for what's right and trying to make sure that things are proper and people are held accountable for what they have or haven't done. And my congratulations to him for sticking to his morals and getting this out there.
So again, those topics very much in that realm of like, hey, you can see why they're not the most fun discussions to have about stuff going on. But at the same time, I would be questioned if I didn't bring this stuff up on a show that bears my name. Bottom line. And I don't want people to think that by at least not acknowledging it, that, oh, well, did you not think it was not a big enough deal to talk about the fact that this PEI incident happened and so on and so forth? So that is why we bring it up. We're not going to linger on it. We are going to move on to some of our other talking points here. There are 2 to 3 kind of headlines here that didn't really fit into the day by day because these teams did not play over the past couple of days since our last podcast. The first is, congratulations to Jack Quinn of the Buffalo Sabres, who is supposed to be making his NHL debut tonight. He has been absurd at the AHL level with the Rochester Americans. He has 26 points in 20 games. He is 20 years old. That does not happen often. Mm-hmm. Not even close. You are looking at a league in the NHL that often... let's go into the stats. Let's go for a couple of years ago, I think would be the best way to handle this. Let's go to one of their last full seasons, which would have been, of course, 2018-19. And talking about the guys who are over point per game. And from the looks of it, there were 4, maybe 5, for dudes that actually played a significant amount of the season. And the vast majority of those guys were veterans. Like I'm talking about, and let's go ahead and name some. Oh, look at that, Carter Verhaeghe. Carter Verhaeghe. He's not doing nothing for the Florida Panthers. Nothing. And then occasionally you get guys like TJ Tynan, who's a bit of a veteran. Daniel Carr, veteran as well. Fun fact, he and Tynan are on the same team. And then Jeremy Bracco for the Marlies. We won't talk about him too much. Yeah. But point being,
let's not talk about Jeremy Bracco.
It's incredibly rare for somebody to have over a point per game mark, let alone the fact that Jack Quinn's doing it in his first full, or supposed to be full, AHL season at 20 years old. He was the 8th overall pick for the Sabres in 2020. And that 2020 class, a reminder of the top 10, as I have a light here that's fidgeting. We'll fix that real quick. That 2020 draft, obviously Lafreniere, Byfield, Stützle, Lucas Raymond, Sanderson we haven't seen at the NHL level yet, Jamie Drysdale, Alex Holtz, Jack Quinn, Marco Rossi, Cole Perfetti, Lundell and Seth Jarvis on the outside of that, Dawson Mercer, Yegor Chinnikov. Like that first round for the 2020 draft already has the chance to be remembered as one of the better ones at the very least. And Jack Quinn looks to be adding to that. And, for the Sabres too, like I view this as a positive because obviously, we remember the start of the season. It's like, oh my God, the Sabres are like 3-0, 4-0. And we talked about it on the show and every Sabres fan's like, give him time. Getting someone like Jack Quinn onto the team now, and this team is likely approaching, out of playoff spot status or contention if they're not already there. It's a nice little positive for them to look forward to before they beat the Leafs in the Heritage Classic, because somehow that will happen.
Yeah, I can see that happening completely. It's just I've always been conflicted on bringing up like younger prospects. If during a team when it's like trying to fight for a lottery spot, because you're basically kind of possibly during the development in a way. But I think with Jack Quinn right now, with the pace that he's at right now, like in his career, he's at a point per game. Right now, he's over a point per game in the AHL, and they're finally having a proper season. You could say it that way. I think he'll be able to make a big jump if he does get to play tonight. I think he is going to get the call tonight to play. And yeah, congrats to him. Get that lap around the ice on your own. No helmet, no Bucky. Let's go.
The other talking point, it's not the only time we'll mention the Edmonton Oilers today, but Ken Holland had a press conference earlier today. For those watching the video portion of this podcast, you just got a lovely facepalm from Endo. Of course, this podcast can be listened to, Spotify, Apple, Google, all the fun places. Can also be watched in video form. Ken Holland on trading his first round pick this year and potential top prospects at the deadline. Quote, "I wouldn't do that. I think the answer is in our locker room." So you don't have to add anything. Nope. There is not a weakness for the Oilers that you would want to address. That is a cup-winning team right now in its current form. They just have to figure it out. A friendly reminder right now, they are out of the playoffs as of this podcast. Now, there are games at hand and such, but right now, the two wildcard spots are occupied by Minnesota and Calgary in the West. Then you have San Jose and then Edmonton. Edmonton has two games at hand on the Sharks and are only a point back. But still, they are barely above San Jose and technically have a worse point per game percentage than Winnipeg, who are just behind them right now. But it's fine. The locker room, it's good. Also, Holland says the Oilers have had 7 coaches in the last decade, and you just can't keep replacing coaches when asked about Dave Tippett's job security.
You can replace the GM.
And you should.
Yep.
And you should. Now, there were, sorry to cut you off, but there were some Oilers fans who were like, well, like the Josh Archibald signing was good. I don't wish Josh Archibald harm, but this is a guy who is currently out due to myocarditis, COVID-related.
Yeah. After
sharing some anti-vax concerns, we'll put it that way. Josh Archibald also, has a career high of 22 points in 68 games, and that was with Arizona. What a signing. He hits everything, though, so what a signing. Well, they drafted Dylan Holloway. Dylan Holloway hasn't done anything yet. He is 20 years old. No, you do not get credit for an unproven 20-year-old when you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on your team that you inherited, and you are not currently in a playoff spot in January. Oilers fans, I'm sorry. at least to the irrational ones that can't just bring yourselves to the realization of like, oh my God, you're still in the shit. Because you are. And look, yeah, who knows? Maybe they end up winning the Stanley Cup this year. Doesn't make the points invalid that this is a team that is not well constructed and will only go as far as Connor and Leon carry them. End of. You can't tell me that Zach Hyman might not have signed in Edmonton. They're like, oh, well, he only signed in Edmonton because of Ken Holland. Unless I hear that come out of Zach Hyman's mouth, I do not believe that. But hey, you have Kyle Turris and Warren Fogle, and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. Here's what I've been thinking. When I read this morning, I was like, what? You have two basically generational talents in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You have chance to add to that repertoire by using a first-round pick to help boost your talent and move some prospects around. What is the difference between trading a first-round pick and going for a cup run and winning the Stanley Cup? I'm pretty sure winning that silver hardware is irreplaceable. Any NHL organization, if they have the chance.
You don't hold on to your first-round pick if you think you can make a deep run in the playoffs.
Exactly. That's the issue.
You don't hold on to it. Unless you're thinking you're going to be in that lottery, it's insane.
So this is where I see it. You are basically trading a lottery pick, possibly, for if you're confident in your team, you're trading that up because the better your team performs, the worse that pick becomes. So if your team does well and gets past if they just make the playoffs, that's like a 15th to 18th round pick, the overall pick. If they do well, that's like 20. And then if they do really well, it's like 31 or 32. You never know. And not willing to make that jump and make the move from giving that pick away for whatever prospect for the chance to win the hardware that your franchise has been looking for, that your owner's looking for, your fans have been looking for. It shows that you're not there to win. You're there to put seats in and say, oh, we have McDavid. We have Leon. We have all these other pieces, and we're just going to show them up and make them and spin them on a pirouette. The one thing I will give the Toronto Maple Leafs credit for is that they've given up those picks because they want to win. They're desperate in wanting to win that cup. Because this is the first time in a while that we still have our first round pick. And the trade deadline's coming up. So the
Leafs right now have their first and second.
Yeah.
In each of the next 3 years.
Yeah.
This year's draft, they don't have their third, fourth, fifth, or sixth, but who gives a shit?
Fuck, honestly. If you look at our depth pool, we have guys who are willing to fill in spots right now. Like, the Toronto Marlies have never been as hungry as they've been before. Their team may not be great all the time, but these guys are basically willing to fight to get onto a roster spot, like tooth and nail, especially with the taxi squad happening right now. And it's super competitive, and the Leafs are probably going to end up giving away a first round pick or a second round pick, either now or the years after. Because right now, I don't think there's anybody they really want to get, unless they want to go and trade for another trade or do something to pick up. I keep wanting to plug my boy Ty Nelson, but he's a great defenseman, awesome guy. He looks kind of like Brock Lesnar a little bit. It's okay.
Well, so for example, I think back to when you're talking about a contender giving up a pick, and who cares? The Bruins gave up their first rounder in 2013 to get Jágr. They lost in the Cup final to Chicago. Am I sad that the Bruins didn't get Dallas took Jason Dickinson with that pick? Oh no, we lost in the Cup final when we could have had Jason Dickinson. Jágr didn't do shit for the Bruins early in the Cup run. But it's the intent. It's the message that you send to your fan base. And I'm sorry to Oilers fans, but my God, they're only missing their third round pick this year out of their first, second, and third over the next 3 years. They're only missing that one third rounder. They have the assets. You have some prospects in the system, you might not want to give up Xavier Borgo or whoever the hell. I mean, you could sit here and name some prospects if you want, but would you rather have, I mean, again, the argument could be like, oh, well, if you trade those prospects, you could have had 2 or 3 cups instead of just the one. Get the one. You can't put the fucking cart before the horse. Get the one, and then think about a couple of them. What are you talking about? 2 or 3?
Yeah, you don't build a house on no foundation. It's just gonna sink. You have to build it up, and I think that's one issue too. Is they've had terrible luck with building it up, and now they've got 2 guys who are basically the focal point of that team, and they're being surrounded by, I hate to say it, but garbage. Like they're NHL talents,
right, so,
but like they're not terrible, but they're not helping out whatsoever. Like those 2 cannot carry a team. This is not the NBA where you can grab 2 guys and have them carry through, and go through. We've seen that with the Toronto Raptors and Kawhi Leonard. You need to have a good support system. You need to have like a top 3 or top 4, top 5. Kind of like, I hate saying what the Leafs are doing. Look what Boston's doing. They have that top core. Look what Vegas is doing. They have a top core. They have all these teams have a good center guys that they have to rally around, and they build around them. It just seems like Edmonton just kind of stuck, going, okay, we'll trade some guys over and go over here. We'll pick up aged players because we like veteranism, and then realize that they're the second coming of Dion the Pylon, and you can't do anything with them.
The Oilers team right now, and we've talked about this before, you have, obviously, Draisaitl, McDavid, Zach Hyman. Honestly, like, Puljujarvi works. Nugent Hopkins is solid. The problem is that supporting cast. I'm sorry, but you're sure you don't want to increase your chances by maybe adding to a bottom 6 that typically consists of Devin Shore, Ryan McLeod, Colton Sevier, Kyle Turris, Warren Fogle, Tyler Benson, Brendan Perlini, Derek Ryan. Like, you're sure you don't want to add to that. That's good. Ken Holland thinks it's good, but for Oilers fans, you really, that's good. That's what's going to get you over the hump, huh?
Just one thing.
I don't see it.
Not to interrupt. I think they're having a change of heart as of late. I think we're going to get to that a little bit later, because I have a feeling there's some rumors about a certain free agent, newly free agent, that we're going to talk about later, who apparently might be a piece in the puzzle.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, we can sit here and break down the Oilers' defense, their goaltending. We'll see if Ken Holland's right, but and he might be. Oftentimes, people can be right, even if it goes against all logic. But again, it goes against all logic. With that, we will talk about, let's talk about last Friday as well. We'll do our day by day, as we normally do. Of course, there were still a lot of postponed games. So Friday only saw 2 games. Not too many big talking points out of the 2 games that we saw. The Hurricanes beat the Flames 6-3. Svechnikov with his 11th and 12th of the season, because he's still great. And for the Flames, Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau both hit their 15th of the year. Carolina's still looking great at 24-7-1. Calgary down to 17-10-6. Still not bad, but maybe not quite looking like the wagon they were at earlier portions of the season. That's not to say they're not a playoff caliber team, but kind of slipping a little bit. And then you had the St. Louis Blues beat the Washington Capitals 5-1, and I don't think we're talking about a single Caps win today. But the Blues beat them 5-1. Buchnevich, his 12th and 13th. Barbashev, his 13th as well. So for as much as we were concerned about the Blues, like, you look at whether or not they have depth scoring, and they do. So I think, the Blues, they're at 20-10-5 now. Had a hot start, kind of dipped, and now they're looking legit. I think Sim was right to question whether or not the Blues were actually going to be legit, when a lot of Blues fans had very high hopes after the first month and a half of the season, but Blues are looking pretty good. I'd be very, very surprised if they're not a playoff team this season. And honestly, once you get that type of team into a playoff scenario, they can go all the way, in my opinion. I mean, I know Jordan Binnington, he's an interesting cat, to put it that way. But I'd call the Blues a little bit scary, personally. I don't know how Endo feels. if he has any opinion at all towards St. Louis. I feel like I'm always looked at to give opinions on St. Louis because 2019 will never go away.
The ghost. The ghost of 2019. I think they're looking good. I know friend of the show, Altex, is probably screaming that we're talking about Barbashev getting a 13th right there. That's his favorite player. They're strong. They're looking good. I think, I don't know, like a few years ago we didn't even count them as like anything other than like a lottery pick contender, and now they're kind of like a staple in the NHL now. Like maybe not like the best team out there, but like a good like middle ground contender for sure.
On Saturday, the Dallas Stars snapped the Pittsburgh Penguins winning streak. They beat them 3-2. Again, the Stars now at 17-12-2. More of a better outlook for them because they had such a slow start. Last year was so disappointing for them where they were completely crippled by COVID after making the Cup final in the bubble. We will be talking about a Stars loss on, I think it was Sunday. It might have been Monday, but end of the day, Dallas heating up. Pavelski and Hintz both hit the 13th goal mark on the season in this particular game. And, you know, if I am a fan of a Western Conference team, particularly in that Central Division, and I see Dallas heating up a little bit, it's a little bit concerning because that is, you know, that division outside of Chicago, which would really have to pull it together in Arizona, you have 6 teams in that division that could be a playoff team. 6 teams from one division cannot happen. So there is going to be a fan base that is very, very disappointed by the end of the season. The crazy thing about the Central is in terms of point percentage, the top 3 teams are Colorado, Nashville, and Minnesota. So for St. Louis, Dallas, or Winnipeg, it's almost like you're set up like, oh God, we're the ones in trouble because Nashville has been incredible thanks to UC Soros, who we talked about a lot in the last show. So I'd be a little bit concerned if I was a fan from the Central Division. And I'd be a little bit concerned if I was Endo, because I think he knows what game's up next. He got a little bit quiet. The Colorado Avalanche defeated the Toronto Maple Leafs 5-4 in overtime on Saturday. Endo, anything interesting happen in this game?
Sportsnet finally got the call right in terms of a back save, like a backstroke save by
a great save for Jack Campbell on Devon Taves. No kidding.
Yes,
it was awesome.
Also, the greatest picture of the year is of Jack Campbell making the save with his glove and holding it there, and then you just see Nazem Kadri in the back, like gobsmacked. Of all the words to say, gobsmacked, with his hands on his head, being like, "What? You got that? Are you kidding?" That was unreal.
I love player reactions to great plays. You know, when you see something happen that surprises a player like Nazem Kadri, who's seen like everything that there is to see. I mean, you're talking about a guy. Is he 30 yet? He's close. If he's not, like think about how much hockey he's played, and he's 31. There you go. You know, you think about how much hockey somebody has played at Nazem Kadri's age as a professional NHLer, and for him to have that moment of just being stunned, it's crazy.
Yeah, it shows you that game recognizes game, and these NHL talent players will basically respect people who are in the game as well. It's you didn't get here because of a fluke. You got here because you have talent. It reminds me of last year. Not last year, it was a few years ago, where Alex Ovechkin was playing against the Habs, and it was Carey Price and that. And then somehow Carey Price got a piece of it on like a one-timer. And after that, after the whistle had gone, like even Alex Ovechkin goes up and like taps him on the gloves and be like, "That was an amazing save. Like, what is going on?" Like that stuff like there is like why I love this sport. We don't see a lot of that happen a lot in games. But to know that there is still like the competitive, but the respect inside the game itself, it's like damn. It's like damn.
It's like damn. Might be an episode title.
There you go.
So the Leafs did blow a 4-1 lead.
Yeah.
In this game. it's bad enough that Sportsnet can now have this big list of all the times that they've blown a 4-1 lead. I mean, look, I don't really feel like sitting here and trying to dunk on Leafs fans for a 4-1 lead. I mean, look, the Avs are a goddamn wagon. It was their 11th straight win at home. Yes, it happened to the Leafs again, but it's I equate this to Hut. And you and I had just had this conversation about an hour ago.
Oh my God.
I equate this to Hut. So, for those who have been watching on Twitch, and YouTube-wise, it's a little bit behind. I started a set plan again, which was a Hut series that we did in NHL 19, because back in the day I used to do Hut series on the YouTube side of things, because I didn't at least hate it so much. I didn't like it, but oftentimes, like, look, when I play a game I'm not having fun with, I will vent, so I don't build up that anger and then do something stupid like throw a controller. At the end of the day, brought back this Hut series because I had it as one of our charity stream milestones. Because people have been asking me, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. So we bring it back. I did 4 2-hour recording sessions, which equates to like 3 games a day. And at first, people are like, oh, this is great. He's venting and raging, and it's hilarious. We know the game sucks. And then as the days go on, it's like, oh yeah, wow, this game does suck. Oh, this game really sucks.
Yeah.
Boy, it's not so fun to watch Toog not having fun, because I'm not having fun either, because he's right and this game sucks. And that's where we are now. Probably already done with it. It will still be uploaded to the YouTube side of things, so people can enjoy the misery if they want to, but eventually with the Leafs 4-1 lead, it's like, oh yes, 2013, hilarious. Oh, they blew another 4-1 lead to Pittsburgh. Oh, they blew another... Okay, that's just like the joke's been beaten to death. The joke's been beaten to death. But Endo, your thoughts on this particular game? I mean, I can kind of tell where you're going to lean with this.
Just ugh.
Good.
Ugh. Period. Also, just quickly tangent onto a set plan a little bit here. I hated watching that. No offense to you, Tougie. It was a lot of fun to watch you like be upset for a little bit. Then afterwards, I just felt bad because like after day 1, you're like, my girlfriend was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I feel so bad. And then like my girlfriend Paulina's like he looks genuinely upset. Like I haven't seen him like that. Like I haven't seen him like that either. I don't want to see him legitimately like enraged, like in like a battle axe, just going through. Like if you did a set plan while you were doing your home renovation, I guarantee you would have gotten it done a lot faster.
Just punching through walls.
Do it live on stream. Just
oh my god.
Yeah, but
so,
back on to the game itself. I don't know what else. You can't blame Colorado for coming back because they're that big of a team. I don't want to say good buddy of mine from TSN, Luca. He said like, oh, this could be a Stanley Cup, a preview of a Stanley Cup final matchup. And I said to him like, can we just get past the first round, please? Like, let us get out of one round first.
Same thing for Oilers fans, right? Exactly. Let's not put the cart before the horse.
Oh my god, I do like those hypotheticals, but at the same time, a hypothetical for a Leafs fan is willing to get out of that 4-1 deficit, or having that 4-1 lead and actually playing through, or just finishing a series on the upper hand instead of being on the down low again.
Cale Makar in this game scored his 15th of the year. As of Saturday, there are teams that do not have 14 goals combined from their defensemen. Let me repeat that. Cale Makar individually has 15 goals. There are 14 teams that do not have 14 goals combined, or 15 goals combined, I should say, from all of their defensemen. You add up the goal totals for all Oilers defensemen, it is less than Cale Makar individually. Habs, Hawks, Flyers, Leafs, Jets, Flames, Stars, Wings, Kings, Penguins, Islanders, Sens, and Canucks. Cale Makar individually is outscoring all of the defensemen combined on those other teams. It has reached the point of like Kyle Connor territory on this podcast. It's just checking in. How ridiculous is Cale Makar? Yes. There you go. That's the segment. For the Leafs in that game, I will mention Austin Matthews had 2 goals. He's up to 22 on the year because Austin Matthews is great.
Yes, there's one thing I want to touch on about Cale Makar. I'm not sure if this is on the docket yet, but I saw something here that was posted. Flyers legend and executive Bobby Clark.
Yes, we have that. We have that coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, we have that coming up. We'll talk about that in a little bit too, because yeah, it kind of goes along with what the hell's going on with Philadelphia. God. Do want to take a quick side note, at least to mention this. The Team Canada women's roster for the Olympics has been revealed. Oh, we will do full breakdowns for both the men and women's rosters once we have those confirmed heading into the Olympics. Holy shit, is the U.S. going to have a tough time beating Canada?
Oh, I got to see
My
now.
God. Like, I mean, obviously, like, all the big names are there. Marie-Philippe Poulin, Natalie Spooner, Sarah Nurse, Melody Daoust. Like, it's exactly, like, if you follow women's hockey and you look at this roster, fuck.
Oh, get fucked.
That's gonna be like, as much as people are like, oh, the Olympics I'm not gonna watch now that the NHL is not going. Watch the Olympics, especially watch the goddamn women's tournament, especially if we get a U.S.-Canada matchup, semifinal or final. It is always some of the best hockey played every 4 years during the Olympics. So fingers crossed that happens. But
quickly, I will note there is not a single member of the Canadian roster team that is from the PHF. Or the
Really?
Yeah, there's not a single one. They are all PWHPA, so Professional Women's Hockey Players Association, which is basically kind of a formulation of what used to be the CWHL, loosely, very loosely when I say that, which was a Canadian Women's Hockey League. And they have three other players who are currently playing NCAA hockey from Ohio.
Fair enough.
Princeton,
I mean,
University of Minnesota Duluth. Not bad.
It is that kind of continued split. Honestly, that kind of puts a damper on it, where it's like, okay, maybe we might get closer to just having all the best women players playing at the same time in the same
100%.
place.
I was talking to someone a few months ago who played hockey, who was also a goalie. She's studying at like university around here, somewhere in GTA, and she was. I think one game I took the transit to take back, and she was talking about hockey and everything, talking about women's hockey and the development and how it is. And the reason why we say there's like an old boys club over here, she said there's a little bit of a old girls club over there as well, because there are a lot of women who are still in there who are we'll talk about this more in like another episode, but there's a lot of girls in there who are basically kind of like holding onto the latches per se of wanting to be like part of the trailblazing community that kind of starts up and helps develop women's hockey into the future. And some small gatekeeping there that's happening what's in that kind of space as well. It's weird, because it's like they want to be a part of the people that help them get paid, and they then want their comeuppance as well. And I guess that's another aspect of it whatsoever. And at the same time, you have so many teams, so little teams, honestly, and so little pay to go around in that little bubble of PHF and PWHPA. That I guess people are just trying to latch on to whatever money they can get from hockey, for women's hockey.
Yeah, it's just politics everywhere.
Yeah,
it's the best way, I think, to sum it up. On Saturday, the Boston Bruins. Let me repeat that. On Saturday, the Boston Bruins actually beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. I can count on one hand, I'm quite sure, how many times that's happened in the last decade since the 2011 conference final. The Boston Bruins beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. Can't believe it. They won 5-2. David Pastrnak heating up, 2 goals. He's up to 11. Brad Marchand, 2 goals. He's up to 14. For the Lightning, Palat and Point. 14th for Palat, 13th for Point, because those guys are freaks. I don't have too much in depth about this particular game, because the headline is enough. The Bruins actually beat the Lightning. And it's one of those things, like, legit, in the past 10 years, like every Bruins fan will tell you this. Like, if you saw Boston against Tampa or Boston against Washington, oh God, we're going to lose. Because it felt that way for a really long time, especially after that 2011 playoff matchup the Bruins had against the Caps, where Braden Holtby's just like, hey, I'm elite now, and just showed up out of nowhere. Hi, I'm Braden. I'm an elite goaltender who's going to own your club until I leave. It's exactly what happened, so couldn't believe that. And we'll talk about the Bruins and Caps in a minute, too.
Yay.
It's fucking Christmas. Christmas for me, what's happened this weekend. I wish that Sin was here because, oh boy. Here's one of our other big talking points.
Oh boy.
Here it is. On Saturday, the San Jose Sharks defeated the Philadelphia Flyers 3-2 in overtime. Tomas Hertl, who Sin is convinced is leaving, scored a hat trick. His 20th goal of the year. Because, my God, for the Flyers, 2-goal game for JFR. JVR, JFR, JFK, JRF, JR.
James
JVR. James Fans Reemsdyke. Yeah, he's up to 9 goals in the year. Good for JVR. Obviously, when talking about the Sharks and the Flyers, there are some other things that come to mind. The San Jose Sharks have terminated the contract of Evander Kane. This is a decision that is going to result in some court time between the parties involved. The NHLPA having to essentially defend Evander Kane because of the way things have been written out. Kevin Kurz on Twitter wrote, the Sharks' Evander Kane contract termination stems primarily from him traveling to Vancouver while COVID positive, according to multiple sources. So it really was as if the Sharks were just waiting for him to screw up again, and lo and behold, it's believable that he screwed up again. However, according to TSN's Gord Miller, he is expected to sign with the new team, quote, by the end of this week. You have also had Tim Peel, yes, the referee Tim Peel on Twitter, saying that he's heard he might be signed within the next 24 hours. It is worth noting that Rick Dollywall, who covers the Canucks, had to mention that no interest has been shown by the Canucks today. And then the most backhanded thing I've ever heard. Good news, Canucks fans. Vander Kane's not coming here. There's no interest. Sources say Kane's looking for a cup contender.
Bruce, there he goes.
Brutal. No shortage of teams have called from his agents, and then Darren Dreger of TSN added that he says he knows the Oilers have made contact with Evander Kane's agent. Ken Holland himself not denying that at that infamous press conference by adding, quote, I believe in second chances.
Yeah, I was going to say, because when we said earlier that Kevin Holland said, about the trade of the picks and everything, what did our answers in the locker room? And then you just see, like, Evander Kane come through with, like, Stone Cold's music. Oh, man. I don't know. Is fucking... I don't know the proper words to say. Is Evander Kane the NHL's Antonio Brown?
Yes.
And why is that, like, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. The reason why I say it's a good thing is because there's press and coverage on the NHL, and I guess the NHL's like, oh, bad press equals good press, considering how they've been for the past, like, fucking 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, year, 2 years, however long it's been. It's, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, look, how many chances does the guy need? He had 1 chance, gone. 2 chances, gone. 3 chances, went over another team, gone. 4 chances, like 6, 7, 8. God, are you just punching out your chance card? Do you get another chance for free? The 10th one's for free? Because this is getting ridiculous.
I mean, I said, like, oh, Ken Holland, he also believes in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th chances. What a guy.
Because he's had
what a nice guy, Ken
Holland. It's ridiculous. He's just like me, my son.
We all know. We all know if a professional athlete is talented enough, they are likely to get another chance. Period.
Yeah.
Period. Now, obviously, there are certain examples. You look at the NFL, a lot of people are still upset that Michael Vick was given opportunities with like the Philadelphia Eagles later on. Obviously, that conversation's how you feel and whether or not you think he served the sentence, which legally he did, but so on. Evander Kane is a talented enough hockey player that he will continue to get chances. He will. Period. I'm not against the idea of Evander Kane getting chances. I just think it's a shame that we continue to see a really talented hockey player who continually gets in his own way. And, again, it kind of lends into that Antonio Brown debate. Like, where is the line between you are fully aware of what you are doing and you're just an ass versus what the hell is going on with you mentally? And, the mental side of things, that can also include the fact that, hey, I don't know if it's outright fair to use the word, but if the term gambling addiction is brought up when discussing Evander Kane, does anyone view that as an unfair term to bring up? And hey, addiction is a mental thing. It's just in this instance it is. Obviously, it can also be a physical thing. But no one's surprised the Sharks got rid of him. No one's surprised that Kane and the NHLPA are going to try to get some sort of compensation for that. No one is surprised he's going to get a spot on another team. No one is surprised that Edmonton is interested. It's just...
Yeah, I heard
you're really goddamn good.
I heard the Leafs are just... I'm like, I don't want him on my team. Are you kidding me? We don't even have a room.
You've mentioned on this show the concept of we can fix him.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
It's like I'm watching Twilight or whatever the fuck. It's like it's ridiculous. This ain't no romantic comedy, Ken. I don't give a damn if you think he's knight in shining armor. He doesn't deserve. He's talented, sure, but just what is he going to do with the environment around your locker room? I guess right now he's thinking that we need a shakeup, and I think the shakeup is bringing in Evander, but that shakeup could be negative. It could be positive. Who knows? I just don't think he should be brought in right now.
The problem is, too, like, you can look at a player like him and just be like, oh, well, you got to get the right supporting cast around him. But the problem is, he had a strong supporting cast around him with the likes of Blake Wheeler and Dustin Byfuglien in Winnipeg. They clashed. In Buffalo, okay, maybe not the strongest locker room leadership there to kind of keep things in check, but then he goes to the Sharks, and Joe Thornton's there, and Brent Burns is there, and Erik Karlsson's there, and surprise, surprise, call it an ego, call it an attitude, whatever, it wasn't kept in check. Like, oh, well, if he goes to the Leafs, John Tavares and God, the veteran defensemen like Brody and Muzzin, they'll keep him in check. No. Like, yeah, there's no denying that Evander Kane, from a pure hockey standpoint, you add him to that Leafs top six on a league min contract, good God. Good God. Especially when Marner's healthy. Oh, yeah. And you're talking about Marner, Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, Evander Kane, and whoever the hell else in the top six, pushing guys like Kerfoot, Mikheyev, Bunting, Kasha, Simmons to the third line, if not the fourth. But it's not that simple. It's just not. I will say my concerns about him being traded for by the Bruins has been alleviated.
If he was just not an idiot, that's it. Just if you were just there are probably some other stuff bothering him and whatever. But I said this about Nazem Kadri and his situation. If you keep a player in check, if you keep him fine and you keep him not for doing stupid shit, then he can prosper. He can do well. I want to say, look at Joshua Hosang. He had a very different situation, but he had a conversation with someone. I believe this is over when he went over to Europe, and was basically told, like, listen, calm down, get some support, have a support system around you, get people around you, and now look what he's doing in the AHL. He's doing very well, kind of like having almost a resurgence in there. I don't know what Evander Kane needs. I personally am getting to a point where I really don't care, and I'm kind of sick and tired of hearing about him in the news, because he is a talented player. But you're only as talented as your actions let you be, both on and offside the ice.
For the Flyers, the losing team in that particular game on Saturday. Out of the news cycle for them, Bobby Clark, maybe the biggest legend in team history, had mentioned on the Cam and Strict podcast that while, of course, Hextall was there before going to Pittsburgh, Hextall had overruled scouts when drafting Nolan Patrick, second overall when they did. Scouts wanted Cale Makar. He also accused Ron Hextall of dropping the ball in terms of a potential Ryan O'Reilly trade. There was more Hextall stuff. It was mentioned as well for the 2014 draft, apparently, that Hextall overruled the Flyers in terms of the scouting department wanting to draft David Pastrnak, and instead they took Travis Sanheim, which I know Travis Sanheim's not David Pastrnak, but Travis Sanheim's still really good. This type of stuff, these type of stories do not come out if a team is successful. And that is the worst possible sign for the Philadelphia Flyers, that the talking point right now surrounding your team is Bobby Clark mentioning on a podcast who the team did not draft a couple of years ago. That shows how bad the situation is right now for the Flyers. They are currently 7 points behind the Bruins for the second wildcard spot, and the Bruins have 3 games in hand. They are barely on point percentage above the New Jersey Devils, and are currently behind both Columbus and Detroit. This is brutal for Philly. And for a team that, again, I thought could have been a cup contender last year, and I thought would certainly at least be a playoff team this year, I don't know what the answer is at this point. It almost seems like a blow-up, or at least a mini rebuild, might be necessary. Because, again, if you have a team that's a contender, this doesn't make the news cycle of someone being like, oh, well, we were going to draft Cale Makar, but the old GM said no. I still just kind of can't believe that the Flyers are in as rough of a spot as they are. But here we are, and it just seems like an endless cycle with the Flyers in terms of when the hell are they going to get it together.
Yeah, I looked at that when Bobby Clark said they wanted to draft Cale. I think that is a massive cap. I mean, we say that's cap. That's a. I don't believe that for a second. There is no way that people looked at Cale Makar and like an average defenseman from the AJHL and was like, we're going to draft the second overall. I think Cale Makar was probably the steal of that draft, especially in that those top rounds. And I just don't believe it. It's unfortunate that Nolan Patrick has had so many injury issues in his career, having the migraine disorder and finally getting his foot back up. But I just don't think that he was going to be overshadowed by Cale. Cale is obviously one of the best players from that draft, arguably right now so far. Look at what he's doing right now with point production and how he's playing and how he's producing. It's just that. It's unfortunate that maybe this is kind of like second buyer's remorse, because you then traded him. Did they even trade him to Vegas, or they just give him away?
So Nolan Patrick technically bounced around a little bit. He was traded this past July to Nashville. Not Vegas, but to Nashville, alongside Phil Myers for Ryan Ellis.
His rights were traded over there.
And then was flipped 1-for-1 to Vegas for Cody Glass. He's only played 9 games this year as well, which is rough.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a very extensive issue with migraines and other injuries whatsoever. So I feel bad for him, because all that pressure as well to be the number 2 pick in the NHL draft. Look what the other guy's doing. Look what Heischer's doing. Heischer's doing very decent over there with the Devils. And then you go look at the guy, Cale Makar, is big 4th. That would do a lot of your mental health. And I'm glad that he's able to go over that environment with Vegas and talk to Robin Leonard, who's basically the mental health guru, per se, of the NHL, who's also willing to speak up and talk about certain issues. We all know the tweet that happened when he found out more about certain medications and all that. And I believe he did bring up Nolan Patrick at one point, with stuff that apparently this is like loose terms in my head, but like talking about that stuff, and I think it's good for him. But I don't believe Bobby Clark for a second saying that you were willing to grab Cale Makar beforehand when people were appalled that Cale went fourth.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point too, right? Like everyone was saying at the time, like, oh, Cale Makar is a bit of a reach, risky pick. So fair enough, but we shall move on. Also on Saturday, the Panthers beat the Hurricanes 4-3. I mean, really notable thing. Carter Verhaeghe had a 2-goal game. Second time we mentioned him today. Like the Panthers are sick. The Canes are sick. Just two sick teams. Give me a playoff series between those two. The Columbus Blue Jackets beat the New Jersey Devils. Bjorkstrand 2-goal game, 10th and 11th. Boone Jenner's 13th of the year. I love Boone Jenner. And Yegor Chinnikov finally scored his second of the year. I'm surprised he doesn't have more. But the quick talking point surrounding the Blue Jackets is that Gregory Hoffman, who was in a bottom six role for them this year, has officially been suspended without pay and will likely have his contract terminated. He has gone essentially back home to Switzerland. He's going to play with EV Zug. He got permission to leave the team to go home to be with his wife for the birth of his child, and he has decided to stay and just not come back. So you read the headline, Gregory Hoffman suspended. You're like, oh my God, what happened? He's a dad, and he wants to be close to family. It's a good story.
Let me
it's a good one.
I got my money from the NHL. I got my million, basically.
Yeah, I mean, look, like he can continue to try to carve out a bottom six role at the NHL and be at the NHL level and be away from his family, or he can go home, be one of the best players in the NLA, and be closer to his family. It's a no-brainer.
I'd do that, honestly.
Yeah. You don't have to be an NHL player to be successful in hockey and make a good living. So
that's exactly what I told. Exactly one of the conversations I had with someone who, a really good friend of ours, of my family, and he's right now playing in the U.S. He's playing high school, like prep high school hockey, and he wants to go in the NHL. And we're like, that's like obviously that's the goal for everyone to do, but know that you can still be successful and still enjoy hockey and have hockey be a part of your life, but it doesn't always have to be the NHL. You can go see the world. You could go overseas. You could go to Australia and play there. Fuck it,
future podcast guest, Mr. Chris Rumble.
I was about to say Chris.
Has played in Germany, has played in Norway, is currently playing in Austria. Like, you get to do all this traveling, see all these places, and still be a professional hockey player for a living. It's awesome.
Kind of like me with the rental place thing. I get this travel Greater Toronto area, which is still kind of great, but I mean it's Toronto, but I get to travel and get paid for hockey. It's like that on like an extremely smaller scale, very much smaller scale.
Oh man! And there was a headline too. Jack Hughes commenting on his rookie year for the Devils, saying that he absolutely hated it. Quote, I was in high school, then the following year I was making $1 million. I got to play McDavid and then Marchand and then Crosby the next night, and they called me a pretty boy player who couldn't play.
Oh my God.
And now we see how good Jack Hughes is, but I love that comment because it does kind of speak to how unfair it is for a lot of these young guys, especially when you're taking like a Lafreniere or a Capo Caco or other guys who are taking in those first few picks. It's like, okay, you're at the NHL level and you get to deal with Marchand, Crosby, these guys who would make their national team Olympic teams because they're the best in the world. Have fun, you 18, 19-year-old kid. It's often not fair.
Yeah. I was solving for X, and now I have to go get the puck off of Connor McDavid while, like, 20,000 people are yelling at me in the crowds while I'm getting paid basically $1 million. And, like, I can be sent down, like, anywhere at any time. It's... this pressure on players in general, especially rookies or just any athlete, is unreal. And I believe with the current day and age with social media, it is not getting any better. Because you can turn on your phone, literally just click one thing, or maybe you type in your name by accident on Google, and then a whole thing about you and how you're playing and how you're doing gets pops up all over the place. Reminds me of Cole Caulfield and his current development, if you like to call that. Look, I'm adding to it too. I'm saying something negative about some other person. and it ties into their psyche a little bit. And I'm glad that some of these guys are able to get over that hump and be productive now. And I'm also glad that sports therapists are now more commonplace inside these organizations, teaching them how to deal with certain things like that, how to basically shrug it off. And it's a good thing for the future of sport and for these people's longevity, so they aren't basically glued to the screen 24/7, wondering about like if they touch the puck the wrong way, they're gonna get yelled at or all that stuff.
Yeah. Also on Saturday, the Preds beat the Coyotes 4-2. The Coyotes' record down to 7-23-3. The Preds, though, had a very impressive 23-11-2. Shout out to Rookie of the Year candidate, perhaps, Tanner Jeannot with his 11th of the year. And then surprising goal scorers like Yakov Trenin for the Preds has 9 goals. And Lawson Krause for the Yotes also has 9. And I think that's led to people in the Bruins community saying Lawson Krause for Jake DeBrusk, which, oof. Also for the Yotes, I don't know what the record is for most teams played for in a season. Riley Nash might be able to break that, though. He is on his 3rd team of the year already and has played just 26 games this year. He started on Winnipeg, got claimed by Tampa, and is now a member of the Yotes. I genuinely wonder, the record has to be like 4. I can't imagine it's...
It is 4.
And who is it?
So the most teams played for apparently is Dave McLuane from 91-92. He played for Buffalo, New York, Islanders, Toronto, and I believe that is Winnipeg. Played for the Jets. And then Dennis O'Brien is tied. Dennis O'Brien from 1977-78, Boston, Cleveland Barons, Jesus, CLR. Who's that?
CLR?
Yeah.
Colorado Rockies?
Yeah, Colorado,
maybe?
Probably. And I think it's Minnesota North Stars. Wow.
Huh.
In this season. Yeah, it's Mark Arcobello. Wow. Arcobello, actually. Yeah, Arcobello. So it's UC Jokinen, Arcobello, McWayne, and O'Brien. UC Jokinen played for Columbus, Edmonton, the Kings in Vancouver in 2017-18. And Mark Arcobello played for Arizona, Edmonton, Nashville, and Pittsburgh 2014-15. That is wild. Yeah,
so I mean, obviously the question's different from who played for the most franchises, which is still Mike Sillinger. He played for 12 different teams, but I was wondering who had played for the most teams in an individual season. That's crazy. Worth noting, too, 2 kind of negative things for the Yotes. Apparently, their arena deal in Tempe is not quite set in stone, which, Uh-oh.
Tempe sure is rising. Let's go.
Oh, God.
That was terrible.
It was great. I loved it, though. And former team GM John Chayka put out an article on Sportico. Some parts may be kind of relatable. The rest is just him through written form. Let's be honest, the article was masturbatory. I'm so great. All I need is the right opportunity. Like, just excuse. I'm the best. Ugh.
I am so great. G-E-R-E-T. G-E-R-E-T.
Basically. If you're someone like me, who personally, while I have been in a fantastic relationship for almost 2 years now, I still subscribe to the r/Tinder subreddit. And it's because you see nothing on there but people posting the most ridiculous shit that people have on their profiles or that they'll message to somebody. And this, I can only imagine John Chayka to be that type of person with one of those profiles that is just nothing but like, oh my God, I can tell that you are just the biggest egomaniac on the planet, even though you have no reason to be whatsoever. He is like the guy with washboard abs who you can tell skips leg and chest day. That's John Chayka. It's ridiculous.
I'm just reading
if you want a good laugh, go read that article again on Sportico.
I'm reading the first paragraph. What a
It's the perfect
fucking
article
God.
for it. I'm going to throw this out there to some of my buddies on YouTube, to the likes of Gravity or Tactics or even the Hockey Guy. If you want to have a good video with content, if you know what, I might steal this. Never mind. Screw all of you. I try. A try not to cringe video reading the John Chayka article on Sportico.
I love this. Fear is rarely logical. I learned this with certainty on the first Thursday in 2016. I'm sure of the date because my wife saved the newspapers. Like, what? What the fuck? Like, the day I was announced as the general manager of the Arizona Coyotes was
I will
the
pay
downfall of
you
that organization. God,
to read this whole thing for a video.
I will.
Please. Oh,
I
God.
should have been exalted. Instead, I was terrified. Sorry. First thing in my head was, I will survive.
Spoiler alert, he wouldn't. He'd be back working at Wendy's. Just brutal. We'll move on, as we can sit here and laugh about that damn thing all day long.
Oh, take this next section. I need to admit it. I'm crying.
I will. The Endo just dies laughing. The Minnesota Wild beat the Washington Capitals 3-2 in a shootout. Endo's losing his shit. This was highlighted by the Caps scoring on their own goal with the man advantage. You know, they would get to overtime. Zach Fucale made one of the best saves of the year on Ryan Hartman in overtime, which normally, like prior years, you'd be like, oh, a save on Ryan Hartman. Yeah, Ryan Hartman's been great this year. But yeah, still the Wild would end up winning. That's the second loss today that we've mentioned for the Caps. Been a bit of a skid for them. The Caps had 9 overtime losses after this game already this season.
Can we talk about Zach Fucale though? Having like the longest
Feel free.
active. Okay, so Zach Fucale broke I believe an NHL franchise record for the Caps. I believe it was the longest start of a career with a shutout. Because technically speaking, he did play earlier, had a shutout in his first ever NHL game, then was basically sent down back to Hershey because I believe their goalie situation is a little bit weird, and then because of the taxi, brought him back up and got into the back end. Now let me quote the exact link because I know he kept it going through. Caps, Fucale.
He does have a .924 save percentages in 4 appearances this season. It's actually been pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the article right here. Russian machine never breaks. Of course it doesn't. Zach Fucale sets NHL record for longest shutout streak to start a career, and it went 138.07. He beat the previous Minnesota Matt Hackett of 102.48. That is still
Matt Hackett.
That is 2 games back to back. Christ. Oh my God.
I mean, good for him, honestly. You know, I mean, for someone where you really started to think he's never going to make it, it was, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice.
Definitely. Like he was, I think we talked about him like on the podcast, like before he even got like his big shot back in. And I was like, what happened to Fucale? It's like, oh, he was buried between goaltenders over in when he played over with the Habs. And then when he went over to New Jersey, then when he went over to, I think he went over to Tampa Bay. Then when he went back over to the Caps, and now he can finally be that goalie that they need. And now he's basically working. He worked his ass off. That is 100% like the grind. A lot of guys, when you're going up from the A, even back down to the C, or being benched in like the N, or back down to the C and going not the C but the A and like the ECHL. It does
the
a
C,
lot
to the A, to the B, to the B.
like even like Garrett Sparks, who was to go from being like the top goalie next one up for the Leafs to go have concussion issues and not getting that properly healed, and then basically going all the way from getting paid league minimum in the NHL, getting paid basically what is considered minimum wage in hockey terms with the ECHL, to go right back up to playing NHL again. It does a lot to you, not only just like mentally, but just and what you can and can't. It does mentally, but like it just plays a lot on you. And I'm glad that he was able to stick through it, have a good support system around him, and find his way not back, but to the NHL. And hopefully he's there for a long time.
You mentioned Matt Hackett as well, and Saw Matt Hackett break his leg.
What?
It's like April of 2014. I was at this game. It was at TD Garden, the Bruins and Sabres, and yeah, dude, he was out for a long time. Literally, I looked it up. April 15th of 2014, the Sabres announced Hackett would not return from injury until December of 2015. He was out for like a year and a half from this injury. It was brutal. It's the only time I've ever seen a player get stretchered out, and I hope to never see it again. Because, yeah, it was awful. But, great memories.
The only time I saw a player get stretched out, I think it was at a Toronto Raptors game. Raptors versus the Warriors. I'm not sure who it was. I think it was the Warriors. Was it Pollard Arenas? And like he got like stretchered out. This is like a while ago to age myself, will age other people.
It's brutal. It's never a fun scene. We'll let you go ahead and look up what great Raptors player, or for the other team, I guess. I don't know. While you look that up, we'll move on because we still have a decent amount to touch up upon here as we look to wind down the show. Hopefully, sometime soon.
He played for the Washington Wizards. I was confused about that. I don't know like when it happened. But I think it was him or some other guy got like stretchered out. Anyways, back on the hockey.
Yeah, Chicago beat LA, or not LA. Chicago beat Vegas. There we go. Easy for me to say, 2-1. Only real notable thing: Jujhar Khaira scored his third of the year. Good for him. I mean, God, there were people saying his career might be over when he suffered that hit earlier this season. So it's great to see that he's healthy and still playing.
Yeah.
There was a story though, kind of surrounding Chicago. Columbus Blue Jackets defenseman Adam Boqvist said his agent had been told by the Blackhawks that he wouldn't be traded. So the deal this summer to send him to Columbus was a bit of a surprise. He actually found out on Instagram, but that's the biz. Boy, it's almost like Vegas isn't the only team that's ever traded somebody in this fashion like they did with Marc-Andre Fleury. I get it's different when it's a veteran future Hall of Famer like Fleury compared to a prospect, but boy, it's almost like things can change. And loyalty in hockey isn't this, sacred code that only the Vegas Golden Knights have broken. My God. Just bothered me. That's all.
I've heard of like guys finding out that they get traded on like TSN ticker, the Sportsnet ticker, like hearing that like on Free Agent Frenzy or stuff like that. But I guess the new development is finding out on Instagram. You pop up, you see a nice TSN graphic, or you see a nice whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, hey look, oh that guy looks pretty cool. Oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. And then you're getting shipped over to wherever.
For Vegas, there was news that they sent prospect Lucas Elvenes through unconditional waivers. It was thought he'd be heading over to Sweden after not getting a chance at the NHL level. You could argue he didn't necessarily deserve one. I thought he was a player of promise. He was claimed by Anaheim on unconditional waivers, which I don't think I've seen in a long time. Like, normally, players just end up being out of their contract. But it brought me to looking up Vegas' draft history so far. And obviously, it's super interesting since 2017, right? Like, you look at that 2017 class, they traded Cody Glass for Nolan Patrick. They traded Nick Suzuki for Max Pacioretty. They traded Eric Brandstrom, obviously, to Ottawa for Mark Stone. They do still have Nick Hague and Lesishin and Jonas Romberg, which are good players. Aside from that, there's not a ton there yet from that first class. Their 2018 draft, they've only gotten 6 games out of Paul Cotter. No one else has made it yet. 2019, 1 game from Pavel Dorofeyev, and then they traded their number 1 pick, Peyton Krebs, to Buffalo for Jack Eichel. Mm-hmm. They really said screw it in terms of building through the draft. They really said fuck it. We're going to shortcut this.
No offense to these kids that they have in their prospects, especially like Daniil Chakia and like Zachary Dean, who are like their first overall, like top 2 picks. God, I'm looking at it. Yeah. Like I always call them the Vegas High Rollers because they just they just don't care. I guess they don't care, but they just don't know how to develop themselves on there. I mean, is that kind of expected for a new franchise? They don't really know how to develop because they're kind of like new in the space, not knowing how to develop stuff. But at the same time, you're bringing in guys who know what the hell they're doing. Do you guys need better hockey ops, better development personnel? We can talk about some personnel that just got hired. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so for Vegas, the reason why I wanted to look that up is because the news was also out today. Jack Eichel is back in practice. Outright practice.
Oh my God, no contact.
So why bother building through the drafts when you can just say, screw it? We're going to get Max Pacioretty. We're going to get Mark Stone. We're going to get frickin' Jack Eichel. And he's going to be able to play before February. It's ridiculous. Buffalo so badly botched this. My God. And Vegas is about to add Jack Eichel to a team that, as of the time of recording, the Vegas Golden Knights are currently already first in the Pacific Division. Are about to add Jack Eichel. Oh, that Western Conference is a buzzsaw. An absolute buzzsaw. Good Lord.
God, this is the worst timeline. This is the worst timeline to be in if you're... Sorry, Architect. Our like, one Buffalo Sabre friend listener to the podcast. I'm so sorry that your team has disgraced Jack Eichel for the talent and for his body, and for everything that he had. I have no words. I can't even say it. But just how do you fuck up that bad? Like how do you fuck up that bad?
There aren't words for it. There really aren't. But don't worry, we'll get to another fuck up after this quick game. The Rangers beat the Ducks 4-1. Mika Zibanejad's 12th of the year. Defenseman Ryan Lindgren had 2 goals. Good game. The LA Kings beat the Detroit Red Wings 4-0. Kyle Peterson shutout. Shout out to Adrian Kempe, who scored his 15th of the year. He has been much, much better this year than what prior analytics from the past few seasons would indicate. Also, the Kings outshot Detroit 27-1 in the first period of this game. Surprise, surprise, they ended up winning 4-0. Ridiculous. But we're not so much talking about the Kings on ice. We're talking about the Kings off ice, as they have hired a consulting capacity as senior advisor to the general manager, Mark Bergevin. And Endo, dare I say, it's about time. It's about time that an old white man with prior experience and a losing track record gets an opportunity at an NHL front office. It's about time.
What the fuck is that position? What is that title? Fucking consulting capacity to senior manager to the general manager at the barrel at the bottom of the sea. Like what is like? There's a hole in the bucket, in the barrel, in the pharaoh, and the ferret at the bottom of the sea. Like, I feel like at this point, people just make up names for things and be like, yeah, just stand there and look pretty. Like, what is going on? Like, just say he's like a guy. Just give us position name Burger Van. Just do that. Like, don't make up some long-winded titles so that way you sound like you're smart and not huffing your own farts in meetings. Like, I don't get it.
Their powers combined, Mark Bergevin and Rob Blake, they might just be able to win a title.
Fucking.
Oh, LA, you suck. Have fun.
Fucking
Have fun getting someone with such a winning pedigree.
Oh my God.
Good job. On Sunday, the St. Louis Blues beat the Dallas Stars. Again, we talked about both these teams. They're both doing pretty well. This was highlighted by the fact that, aside from Jordan Kyrou and Jason Robertson both being great, Stars head coach Rick Bowness was fined $25,000 for smashing his stick on the bench after the Blues won in frustration with officiating. Good for Rick Bowness. I love whenever coaches go crazy. Like, my highlight is always, like, in terms of watching coaches lose it, Jim Playfair, I think he was the head coach of the Windsor Spitfires at this point.
Yeah.
Infamous clip. He went full Hulk Hogan. Not in terms of racism that we know of. Never go full Hulk Hogan that way. My God, or full, as he's been trending on Twitter today, anti-vaccine Hulk Hogan.
Oh my God.
Never go 25% Hulk Hogan.
Oh my God.
Fucking anything over 25%, you'll start creeping on your own daughter. Hulk Hogan fucking sucks.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Okay, look, just quickly. My favorite picture out of anything that like wrote itself is the picture of Hulk Hogan writing NWA on the van. And it's just the
No, he's
N. It's just the N. Like,
It's a top-notch meme. Oh God. Anyway, Jim Playfair like had a suit jacket on and just fucking ripped it open, and it was the best. Look it up.
father of noted actor of Letterkenny fame, Dylan Playfair. I think that's Jonesy. Yeah.
Yeah. Only other game on Sunday, the Anaheim Ducks beat the Detroit Red Wings 4-3 in a shootout, highlighted by the fact that the Anaheim Angels rally monkey dropped the opening faceoff, or the ceremonial faceoff. Endo's reaction's incredible.
I saw a quote, a tweet on Twitter. I was like, "We live in a day and age where a monkey dropped the puck on the ice," and I'm like, "Can you please elaborate on this? Because excuse me." I'm like, this can be taken two different ways, and I really don't want to be wrong. God.
Boy. For the Ducks, Trevor Zegras scored his 9th. Troy Terry scored his 26th. Oh, God. I'm losing it. Excuse me. That was awful.
It's okay.
We're leaving this in. We're leaving it in. Oh, it's the water. Oh. Troy Terry scored his 22nd of the year. Max Comtois finally got his first goal of the year after playing in 18 games, which was surprising. For the Red Wings in the loss, 16 goals for Bertuzzi, 10 for Nemesnikov. The big announcement for the Red Wings, Nicholas Lidstrom is back in the fold. He has been hired in one of Endo's freaking word jambalaya titles as Vice President of Hockey Ops. That one's a bit more simple.
That's very simple to the point. Vice Operation of Hockey Operations. Not fucking consulting capacity to the makeshift title of the
to the czar
of the barrel of the bottom of the sea. Like, I don't need that. Just be right to the point. Hockey Ops, not I'm gonna consult my advisor with the Sun, the general manager. Sorry.
It is worth noting on Twitter, Tim Peel back at it again with the tweets and the white vans. Hearing Evander Kane will be signing in the next few hours with the Edmonton Oilers. As Endo puts down the headset and walks away. So, by the time this podcast is out, you guys will know whether or not that has actually happened. But, well, Edmonton, you may have gotten that insurance that you needed. Let's hope that he's a good fit for the locker room culture. Although, at the same time, if you have the right pieces in place, do you really need Evander Kane? If the answer is from within the locker room, do you need to bring somebody new into the locker room? On Monday, the Boston Bruins beat the Washington Capitals. All right, Endo, go ahead. We'll let you.
God is dead and we've killed him. Anyways, back again with the team we're talking about right now. I'm sorry, but just, oh boy.
It's fine.
God.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. Just go on with it. Just go on.
Yeah. He'll be a good fit playstyle for that team, but we'll see if it lasts. The Bruins actually beat the Capitals, much like they somehow beat the Lightning. And granted, the Bruins beat the Caps in the playoffs recently, but the Bruins beat the Caps 7-3. The Bruins were down 2-0, and then we're up 5-2. 6-2, actually. 2 more goals for David Pastrnak. He's up to 13. 2 more goals for Brad Marchand. He's up to 16. Despite the fact that it looked like Brad Marchand's nose was severed from his face, thanks to a high stick from Nick Dowd. So a bloody Brad Marchand with 2 goals. Connor Sherry with 2 goals as well for the Caps. He's up to 10 on the year. Patrice Bergeron made a highlight reel save. I know what I said. Stopping an Evgeny Kuznetsov shot. And Matt Grzelcyk in this game posted 5 points against the Caps. 5-point game for Matt Grzelcyk. He was the first defender in a Bruins uniform to do that in our lifetimes. Endo. The last Bruins defender to have a 5-point game was Ray Bourque on January 2nd of 1994.
Oh, I could have called my
Coincidentally, also against Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew the goalie in that game. It was Jim Carrey or some shit. The
Jim
net
Carrey.
detective. Not that Jim Carrey, but hold on, let's see.
Alrighty
Washington Capitals 93 94. Let's see. Who could have been in goal that game for the Caps? Either Don Beaupre, Rick Tabaracci, Byron Defoe, or Ole Kolzig. It was one of those four, and they got destroyed. So, a good win for the Bruins. The Bruins now 19-11-2. Things are looking pretty good. It was a really solid game, really solid comeback. When they were down 2-0, I said, oh, good, they're cooked. And then the other news for the Boston Bruins today. Tuukka Rask's PTO with the Providence Bruins done before he could play a single game. Jeremy Swayman has been sent to Providence. He is not eligible for the taxi squad. Jeremy Swayman is now on the Providence Bruins. This year, Sway had honestly a pretty strong save percentage, as I pointed out in the last show, rocking at, and I'm trying to find that official number here, it was a 9-18 in 16 games.
Not bad.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah.
The reason why Jeremy Swayman was sent down is Tuukka Rask is officially once again a Boston Bruin. He has signed a 1-year deal. Tuukka is back, as we all knew he would be, and it's a beautiful, beautiful day.
Yeah, this morning I said Tuukka Rask going to sign some like weird obscure contract that pays him like league minimum and donates like part of his earnings like a puppy charity like foundation. And then we find out that he's signing like $1 million per year and he's getting half of that $1 million. I'm like, what did I tell you? It's some weird clause that like, basically tells him he gets paid less money because he doesn't need it and doesn't want it. I think Tuukka is going to retire as a Bruin. 100%.
I agree. I completely agree. I mean, it's a very, very team-friendly deal. I'm excited to see what he can do. You know, Don Sweeney in the press conference, the quotes coming out of it, of course, that Swayman's still the guy for the future, but they feel this was the right move now, and at the very least, they have 3 NHL-caliber goaltenders on their club.
Yeah.
So I am quite happy with that.
As you should be.
Final 2 games to talk about. The Kings beat the Rangers 3-2. Again, I mentioned Adrian Kempe earlier in this episode. He's up to 16 goals in the year now. And highlights to check out, Drew Doughty landed an awesome hip check on Philip Hedl. So good for Drew Doughty. He's not completely useless on the ice anymore. And that's for Crash Andrews right there. Twitch.tv/Crash Andrews. And into the final game, Colorado won again. They beat the Seattle Kraken 4-3. 2 goals from Nicolas Aube-Kubel. He's up to 4. 7th goal of the year for Devon Taves. His 6th, of course, the overtime winner against the Leafs. Nazem Kadri, his 13th of the year. And Jared McCann for the Kraken scored his 14th. But Nazem Kadri's 13th of the year is what I want to talk about here. The Colorado Avalanche are a juggernaut. In terms of the NHL's current point-per-game leaders, the Avs have 4 of the top 7 players on that list. McKinnon's 1st, Kadri's 3rd, Rantanen 5th, and Landeskog 7th. The West is a buzzsaw. And so is the East. My God, is it going to be stressful for anybody whose team makes the playoffs this year? Because I do not think there is such a thing as a slam dunk cup favorite. Not even close. There are way too many competitive teams this year. In terms of parity in the NHL, my opinion, it very much exists, at least this season. It's going to be ridiculous. I can't wait until the playoffs. As Endo, still in shock over the Evander Kane news. Oh, God. One more facepalm.
At least you don't got to get rid of your first-round pick. At least you don't got to get rid of your first-round pick. He found a way to save the pick. There you go. There you go.
No picks, no prospects, baby.
No
Ken Holland Masterclass. That's the title of the episode. We got there. We made it.
Oh, man. Ken Holland
It's like,
is the
damn.
Masterchef. Oh my god.
Oh, God. Ken Holland, Masterchef.
This team is raw.
Oh,
We need some
God.
seasoning. Get the black guy. Get the seasoning. He's got an
Everybody
attitude
think?
problem. Doesn't matter.
Everybody, thank you for listening to another episode of the podcast. It is greatly appreciated. It is, of course, brought to you once more by our friends at Manscaped. Code Tougie at checkout, 20% off free worldwide shipping. We'll be back this Friday with Mr. Sin for the win. The guys, the fellas, will be reunited. Catch Endo everywhere at Endo Mills. I am at Tougie24. Ken Holland, Master Chef. That's a graphic you need to make right now.
I'll try my best.